So this is the original 97 Freightliner. I just about said Peterbilt. And you could see on this how the hood is sloped down. They made these Freightliners when they redid them. They made them more, I guess, aerodynamic, more driver friendly, for you could see the end of the hood or past the end of the hood easier. What we want to do is take away from that. We want to make it look like an old truck. So what we're going to do is take this hood and bring it straight out. With it the way it is right now, it would even look pretty cool because we lowered the front end. Not too often I'm able to look straight up at the top of a hood like this. So putting a straight edge on it, what we're hoping to achieve is basically getting the angle straight on the top of the hood. You could see the difference in the slope here. So I bet you that's about 8 inches the front end's going to come up. But that'll give it that older look. The other thing with this, with the new hood, we'll be getting rid of the square lights and going back to the original Freightliner round lights, pedestal round lights. We think we're going to have a little bit of problems with the fenders. Just the way that they're designed, you could see that this is a lot wider here at the front. So what that means is on the older trucks, the tire was probably a couple of inches ahead forward. So we're going to have to play around with our fenders and pull them back. This fender still comes right up to the front, but it's with the offset, what they've done is they fiberglassed this bigger piece in and mounted the headlights right in there. You could see the difference with the width here, how wide it is here, compared to the back, it's narrower. So I think it's going to look, the other thing we'll do is on the new hood is we're going to bring this down lower, a couple of inches lower, bring the fenders down lower. So we'll definitely get that low look to it. As much as the new hood won't be exactly like a 1980 hood, it'll be as close as what we can make it.
No?
Do you want me to grab this, Mike?
I'm okay. I'm short, but not that short. Doug wanted to keep this, eh?
Our new hood, this hood is off a 1980 Freightliner. Instead of having the slope as the hood originally had on this truck, we're bringing it straight out and we're narrowing the front like a 1980, and we're going to put the new fenders on it that we've made. The reason we built this hood like this is basically we're trying to make an aftermarket hood that a guy could buy a brand new Freightliner XL, pop the hood off, put this hood on it, and basically date his truck back 20 years, 25 years. It'll look like an old Freightliner, except the difference will be instead of being a 120, it's going to be an extended hood. So I'm quite excited to see what it's going to look like when it's finished. This is sort of what it's going to look like with the old style fender. This fender, we've actually dropped it. It should have been about 2 to 3 inches higher on the original hood, but we've lowered it right down because we put a air ride front end on the truck. So at the shows, we'll have it nice and low. Then we could lift it up. So what Danielle made for me, he made me a brand new set of fenders that is actually 10 inches longer than original. And then what he done is he put this plate on the side here. So when we get the fenders figured out exactly, after we put the hood together, the last thing we're going to do is put the fenders on. So then what we're going to do is figure out how wide they need to go. So then we'll cut the width And then after we determine how long they're going to go, we could cut the access off. And then what's neat about these is we're going to be able to make a bigger lip on here. So we're going to be able to go from basically a 2-inch lip to a 4-inch lip, or whatever we want. And then being that this hood was designed for 1980 and this is a 97 truck, the axle on the newer trucks have been moved back. So to get the tire centered in this, we're going to mount the fender on, use a straight, come up straight from the middle of the tire or wheel, and then determine our cutout. So it might be a little wider at the back and a little narrower at the front. I think that'll give it a unique look on it. So hopefully it all works out. It'll be pretty sharp looking. So one of the things we done, well, once you open the hood, we'll be able to see, we put new springs on it and we had them de-arched. So the arch that was in them is now flat. So it's lowered the front end a lot. You could see just with the standard bumper that came from factory how close it is from the ground. That's not saying like after we put the big bumper on, an extended bumper, it's going to be touching the grass. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the original panels out and we're going to extend them another 4 inches. So instead of just using the standard panels and bolting an extension on, we're just going to make straight panels. And we're going to get rid of the hole here for the exhaust. We're going to bring this down. We just have to determine how long we're going to go with the hood. And we'll probably trim off around here, but that's going to bring it pretty low to the ground. I've got new steps being made that are the style of an older Freightliner. They're going to be made out of stainless steel. We put the battery in the toolbox up front, put our fuel tanks at the back, and instead of using the regular Freightliner exhaust system, we went with a Dynaflex with the rod picket elbows on them. So it's going to give you that nice low look. We're going to chop the roof, bring it down 4 inches. Of course, we're going to have to move this door down 4 inches. We're going to get an old style Freightliner sun visor made and put on there to try to give it that old look. In between the windows on this truck, there's just a rubber. It's a very narrow to make the windows look bigger. What we're going to do is we're going to put a post back in there, about 4 inches, 3-4 inches post from the bottom to the top, like the older trucks had. Then the chopped roof. We're going to put a back window in the truck. This one doesn't have it. It got a little hot. We're going to mount a back window in it. And I've already stretched it 2 feet, so we should have about 268 wheelbase. I had both rear ends completely rebearinged and rebuilt. I've already got the insert in there. And this time when we added to the frame, what we did is I cut the back off on an up-down angle, but on an angle, and we added to the back end of it. And then once we just slid the front axle back 2 feet and then slid the rear one back 19 inches to get rid of the spread that was on this truck. So now it's going to have a 54-inch spread. Then I took the back end and I tapered them down, put the taper back end back in it. Oh, then with the new fifth wheel, we've got this new pretty impressive fifth wheel here from Holland and Alcoa. This baby's all made of aluminum. That will be going on for the fifth wheel. It's fairly light. Probably what we'll end up doing is getting it, polishing it. It'll look pretty impressive. I think this must weigh a couple of 100 pounds lighter than the original cast steel ones because it's not bad to pick up. I don't know what it weighs, but it's a heck of a lot lighter than the old ones.